One of the highlights of the Whelen Modified Tour season is the 2 trips we make to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and this weekend the July event has 2 races, the non-points All-Star Shootout on Friday and the 100-lapper on Saturday. Guys, anytime you've got the Cup guys in town, the Whelen Modifieds are there, but at the end of the day, Doug, Phil, we know that it's the Modifieds the fans are there to see. And Doug, as a driver, how cool is it to be part of the presentation that all the TV experts are talking about, all the Cup guys and owners are talking about, and you guys get a chance to go out and be part of the big show?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about NASCAR and you talk about Loudon, people talk about the Modifieds, and it's really awesome that our series, number one, that we've put on some really good racing there, and number two, that people have noticed and respected it. And when you see the Cup haulers packed with crew members and friends and family and drivers watching our race, that's special. And when you also see some of the Cup fans who may not have even known what the Modifieds are coming to the race and leaving there happy, that's a good day.
And tell me about your skill drafting. I've watched those races over the past couple of years, and you got really good there. You won a string where you were the top guy at New Hampshire. You couldn't be beat. And now it's a situation where nobody wants to draft with you because they know you're going to go to the front and then they're going to have to deal with you in the late stages. Where did you get so good at the draft in New Hampshire?
The biggest thing is learning from my mistakes and, more importantly, learning from other people's mistakes. You know, I try to watch every move that everybody makes, and it's a timing thing at New Hampshire. And if you make the wrong move at the wrong time, you're going to go backwards 4 spots. And there have been many times that I've made the wrong move, and I've also capitalized on people who made the wrong move. So I like to watch videos a whole lot, you know, races that I won, races that I didn't win, and find out why it happened. You know, when I was first coming up in the tour, I think Ricky Fuller and Ed Flemke and Mike Stefanik, they were the guys that, you know, just through conversation in the pit area, they kind of impressed me with their knowledge of how the air worked. And watching Tony Stewart get into a modified one time and knowing how to draft, obviously, with his experience, those are all things that stick with you. And the older you get, you start to apply it and start to win some races.
Those straightaways are long at New Hampshire, and one of the things that you do that not many other drivers do is you drive one-handed in the turns when you go around in a modified, but on the straightaway, you're back 2 hands up on the wheel. Why is that?
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with my background racing quarter midgets and always steering slightly with your left hand. You know, your right hand really didn't do too much. And it's just how I adapted to running a full-size car. It's, you know, all of us get into these cars and it's our preference on how high we like to sit, how much angle we like, how far away we like the pedals. And for me, it just so happens that I like to hold the steering wheel mostly with my left hand. It actually started on the tour back at Riverhead. I got hit so hard a few times in the back that the car kept popping out of gear, so I just decided I was going to hold it in gear with my right hand and drive with my left.
When you get on the straightaway in the draft, I mean, the car's moving around a little bit, so granted, you would think you always have 2 hands on the wheel, but you really need it at New Hampshire.
Yeah, the straightaways are so long, the air moves year round, and of course, you know, you have to be ready when somebody makes a move to either go with them or, you know, not get wrecked. So I am 2 hands down the straightaway, and then as soon as I lift off the gas to get into the corner, I put this hand on the shifter and steer with my left hand. It's just what I do.
Phil, can you sleep at night knowing all the hours you put into these race cars behind us? So the guy's out there with his arm up on the armrest and driving with one hand?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of drivers do that. I mean, Ricky Fuller was famous for doing it. He used to ride with his arm up on the petty bar back in the day, and so you know, I have all the confidence in the world with Doug. He knows what he's doing.
There's a lot that goes into the mechanics. We talk about the steering wheel, but you could change the feel for the driver around the turns here at New Hampshire. Now, a lot of that has to do with you go to a short track like a Riverhead or a Seekonk. Now, all of a sudden, we go to Loudon. The arc of that turn is a lot bigger than when you go to the short tracks.
Yeah, we have different ratios that we can put into the rack and pinions. But Doug and I, you know, we've talked about that before, and he always likes to have that same feel in the steering wheel. If he's at Riverhead, he just knows he has to turn the wheel more. If he's at Loudon, he just only has to turn it this much. So he has it in his head that certain racetracks, his steering wheel should be at 9 o'clock when he's in a turn, and others it should be at 6 o'clock. So, you know, it's just one thing that we've always done together and worked out really well.
And of course, horsepower and aerodynamics is critical. These big tires hanging off the front of these modifieds poke a really big hole in the air, which is why we see some of the great drafting that we do, but they're low to the ground, lower than the Cup cars, and they certainly still have some aerodynamics that come into play. So what are the things that you can do inside the rule book and that you're willing to share here with your modified to take advantage of that?
Well, the biggest thing is try to keep the car as clean as you can. You know, the panel's nice and straight, everything tight, nothing flopping in the wind. It's amazing, you know, you can support certain parts of the body and they'll be actually cracked after a race because there's so much air force on the car. So you just try to make sure that all your body parts are staying on right. Your hood's not flopping in the wind, and just keep her going fast as you can.